So to make this classic devil's food cake, it's actually really simple. It's made in the exact same style as the buttermilk cake, meaning that we're gonna do our base of fat, sugar, and eggs, and then add our dry ingredients and wet ingredients to it. But this, because it's a devil's food cake, has a lot of really delicious flavors going on, and also a few extra things that I throw in just to really pump up that chocolate flavor. So starting with our dry ingredients, I have 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I'm gonna do a pinch of salt. I have 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda, and then I have my 1/2 cup of cocoa powder. This is unsweetened cocoa powder, and this is really the linchpin here. You want to use the best cocoa powder you can find. I know it sounds kind of cheesy and weird, like the best you can find, but truly cocoa powder is one of those things that there are bad cocoa powders and there are good cocoa powders. So typically you want to find something that's European. They just are done in a really lovely process, and you want to make sure that when you read the ingredients, the only thing in it is cocoa powder. So, and also you can tell by the really dark, rich color that it's a high quality cocoa powder. So that covers the dry ingredients. The wet ingredients are a 1/2 cup of strong coffee. So this is actually from this morning. I just brewed it up. I kind of let it sit a little extra long so it has a really extracted flavor. And you could just as easily use water, but what I love about the coffee is that it gives the chocolate this really wonderful depth, but it doesn't add a coffee flavor. So this doesn't taste like coffee cake or anything like that, but it just really adds an exclamation point to the chocolate. I then have 2 ounces of melted bittersweet chocolate. If you don't like bitter chocolate, you can always make it semi-sweet. I wouldn't go milk though, because it adds a little too much sweetness. And then I have a 1/4 cup of sour cream, which I love because it adds fat, but it also adds just a little bit of a tang that once again really pumps up that chocolate flavor. I then have 2 eggs that are at room temperature, and you want your eggs at room temperature just because it helps everything sort of emulsify and come together really easily. I have a 1/2 cup packed of brown sugar, and then 1.5 cups of white sugar. All right, well, let's get started. So first things first, I'm gonna combine the butter and the sugars and whip them together. Now I'm gonna add my eggs one at a time, and this is the same technique as in the previous cake, slamming it on the counter instead of on an edge. So now that my base is fully mixed together, I'm actually gonna mix together my dry ingredients. So this is the same idea as before. What I wanna do is I wanna make sure everything's really well integrated and even. Beautiful. And now I'm gonna do the same with my wet ingredients. So now it's exactly like with the buttermilk cake. I'm just gonna add my dry ingredients, my wet ingredients, and alternate back and forth until I use them all up. So the devil's food cake batter is fully mixed. It looks so decadent. Oh my gosh, I love chocolate cake, always. So this is ready to go in the pans, and it's the same idea. I have my pans greased and lined with parchment, and this is going in the oven at 350, and this bakes for the same amount of time, about 25 minutes. And you can do the toothpick test. And the thing with the toothpick test with this cake is you do want a few moist crumbs coming off of it. You don't want it to be bone dry.